Yes, following.
As a court, please, my lord, we apologize for the late start. We are informed that accused number 5 had to receive his medication, and that is the reason why they arrived late.
Okay, fine.
My lord, we have no further questions to this witness.
Okay, yes, Mr. Mgqibelo.
Court is, my lord. Good morning, Kenny.
Good morning, Advocate.
Mr. Mgqibelo. Sir, I've got a few questions for you. Firstly, it relates to your duties. As you said, you are an operational team leader.
That is correct.
So you were doing the same duties in 2014?
That is correct, my lord.
So you also told the court that you were allocating work for the members?
That is correct, my lord.
Even in 2014?
That is correct.
Then Lieutenant Colonel Mangena was in your team.
That is incorrect. Mangena was not in my team.
All right. I just want to clarify this because I'm looking at the duties that you actually perform, as you have told the court. May I just get clarity from you? You said you also your work also entail the reconstruction of the crime scene, correct?
That is correct, but however, I must state that I stopped attending crime scenes.
All right.
After an interrupted period of approximately 10 years doing crime scenes. I stopped doing crime scenes in 2014 when I focused on the leadership and management of the operational team.
Can you please tell the court when you are to attend a crime scene for the purpose of reconstruction, what is the procedure that usually is followed?
Let
me just be precise. Are you called by the investigating officer to attend to a crime scene, or are you assigned by the case administrators to attend it?
The person on standby will be called by on crime scene standby will be called by the person requiring the attendance of the scene, who can be the investigating officer or the crime scene manager.
noma ke lona ke okhona lapha endaweni isigameko umanager le ndawo uyena kungangibiza ukuthi yela.
All right. So you might not have a vivid recollection of what happened on the 27th of October 2014.
Ushuthi angekwazi ukukhumbula kahle ukuthi kwenzeka nomhla 27 October 2014.
But can you recall if you were on duty that day?
Uyakwazi ukukhumbula ukuthi wawukhona emsebenzini ngalelo la?
I cannot recall, my lord.
Angikwazi ukukhumbula lokho.
There's evidence by Lieutenant Colonel Mangena, who said he was called to attend to the crime scene for the purpose of reconstruction by Captain Bentley.
Khona ke ufakazi lapha ukuthiwa uKenel Mangena wathi wabizwa uCaptain Bentley ukuthi eze lapha endaweni esigameko ukuthi azosiza khona.
Do you have knowledge of that?
Khona ulwazi onalo ngalokho?
I have no knowledge of that.
Anginalo ulwazi ngalokho.
You're also working with Colonel, is it Colonel Ntini?
Usebenza noKenel Ntini?
I work with Captain Dini, that is correct.
Yebo ngisebenza noCaptain Ntini.
So, but are you aware that Captain Ntini attended to a crime scene on the 27th of October 2014?
Uyazi yini ukuthi uCaptain Ntini waya lapha endaweni esigameko uyosenza khona umhla ka 27 ku October 2014?
I'm not aware because Captain Dini has never reported to my operational team.
Cha angeke ngikwazi lokho ngoba uCaptain Ntini akakaze abe eqembini lami engilikhuzana.
So, there's evidence before this court that Lieutenant Colonel Mangena attended to the crime scene on the 26th, and on the 13th of November 2014, he conducted an examination on the exhibits that were brought at the forensic science laboratory.
Khona ufakazi ukuthi uCaptain Lieutenant Colonel Mangena waya endaweni esigameko umhla
27 of October 2014.
You said 26.
Sorry. What?
You said 26. I
No.
have it here.
I mean 27 October 2014, and he conducted the examination on the exhibit on the 13th of November 2014.
Jake uCaptain Mangena waya endaweni esigameko umhla 27 October 2014 and umhla ka 13 November 2014 kwahlola ikhombisi ezatholakala lapha endaweni esigameko ama exhibits.
Are you aware of that?
Uyakwazi lokho?
I don't know the details, but what I know is that in this matter, Colonel Mangena did do some work.
Anginayo imininingwane kodwa engikwaziyo ukuthi uColonel Mangena khona umsebenzi awenza kuleli cala.
The essence of this question is to find out if this matter was formally and officially, the matter under CAS 636 of 10/2014 was formally and officially allocated to Lieutenant Colonel Mangena.
Ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi leli cala 63 of 2015 wayinikwa yini uColonel Mangena?
Unfortunately, I do not have any information or details regarding that.
Cha anginayo imininingwane ngalokho.
Because the reason why I'm calling this is that for him to attend to the reconstruction of the crime scene on the 27th of October 2014, he was called by Captain Bentley, who's not working in your office.
Ngisho ke ngoba ezazo ukuthi ngisho njalo ukuthi ngomhla 27 October 2014 wabiza ukuthi ayendaweni esigameko uCaptain Bentley.
I hear that.
Ngiyakuzwa ke lokho.
My question is, you said, I just want to repeat that question. I know maybe, sorry, I didn't get what I wanted from you. The question is, was Lieutenant Colonel Mangena allocated officially with this matter 636 of 10/2014.
Ngifuna ukuzwisisa kahle ukuthi uLieutenant Colonel Mangena wayenikiwe yini leli cala ukuthi asebenze kulona eliku 636 of 10 of 2014.
I don't have any details about that. I don't know. I was not involved in the allocation of crime scene cases.
Cha, anginamniningwane ngaloko ngaba ngaleso sikhathi angikongemina onikezelana ngemsebenzi.
So in the case administration office, work is allocated to different members, correct?
La kwabahambisa ke ukunikezelwa kumsebenzi kushuthi ke umsebenzi lena amacala anikezela kubantu abehlukene kanjani.
Casework is distributed by commanders to various members.
Kusho ukuthi ke amakhesi ke anikezelwa amakhomanda bephuzi kuba emaphoyiseni ahlukahlukene.
All right.
As I've said, that at that time, that has been specified, 2014. I was not the commander, the direct commander of Lieutenant Colonel Mangena.
Ngifuna ukugcizelela futhi ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi sa 2014 kangeyena umkhuzi kaColonel Mangena.
As a result of that, I'm not in a position to explain any details regarding that.
Yikho ke ngithi angikwazi ke ukuletha imininingwane nemincane ngalokho.
But you don't even have the knowledge that at that time, Colonel Mtsipe was not the commander for Lieutenant Colonel Mangena.
Manje ka ushutha unalo nolwazi ke nje lokuthi uColonel Mtsipe wayemkhuzi kaColonel Mangena, kaLieutenant Colonel Mangena.
He was our commander. He is still our commander.
Yeah, wayemkhuzi wethu namanje sewuyena umkhuzi wethu.
I'm referring to Mangena, not to everyone, specifically to Mangena.
Cha ngisho ukuthi siqonda ngqo uchaze mayelana noMangena hayi nabanye.
Mangena and I report to Colonel Mtsipe.
Mina noMangena umkhuzi wethu uColonel Mtsipe.
But the essence of this is that Colonel Mtsipe is the one who officially assigned this matter to Colonel Mangena. Will I be correct to say that?
Zobe ngikhuluma iqiniso yini mangithi uColonel Mtsipe uyena wathuma uLieutenant Colonel Mangena ukuthi enze lo msebenzi.
I cannot testify about the details of the allocation of this specific matter.
Angikwazi ukuletha imininingwane noma ngifakaze ngokunikezela komsebenzi nokuthunywa kwabantu.
The rest that I will be doing will be just speculation.
Engakwenza kuzobe kusho ukuthi ngizobe ngiqagela.
No, I'm getting there. You are involved. I'll tell you. Just wait.
Ngiyakhona lapho Linda ngizochazela.
I want to confirm. If you don't know, you don't know. Colonel Mtsipe was the commander of Lieutenant Colonel Mangena, and you cannot tell this court that indeed he's the one who officially assigned the docket 636, that work relating to 636 to Colonel Mangena.
uColonel Mtsipe wayemkhuzi kaColonel Mangena. Kodwa ke wena ukwazi ukuletha isiqiniseko sokuthi uyena yini uColonel Mtsipe owanika leli cala u636 of 10 of 2014 walinikezela kuColonel Lieutenant Colonel Mangena ukuthi asebenze ngalo.
What I've already explained is that I will explain again, is that members are placed on standby, on crime scene standby.
Engakusho ukuthi khona abantu abanikwa standby ukuthi abahlale belindele nanoma yini engenzeka.
So when they are on standby, when there is a crime scene to be attended, the person on standby will attend that crime scene.
Ushuthi uma khona kwenzekile kube nesidingo sokuthi kube nozoyosebenza lapho lo standby uyaya ke lapha ayosebenza.
And the attendance of that scene is not only limited to that member alone. That member can increase his own capacity by requesting the assistance of other members to go with him.
Uyena yedwa uzosebenza lapho uma ukuthi kuba nesidingo sokuthi adinge izandla ezingamsiza uyakwazi ukuthi azicele.
In this case, an examination was conducted by Lieutenant Colonel Mangena on the 13th of November 2014, and there was a finding on his examination. You said you were aware, but not the details of what he was doing.
Uthawa niyazi ukuthi Lieutenant Colonel Mangena wenza umsebenzi wokuhlaziya lama exhibit ngomhla ka 13 enyangeni kaNovember 2014.
I'm aware that he did some work in this matter, but I do not have all the details.
Yebo ngiyazi ukuthi ukhona umsebenzi awenza kuleli cala kodwa ke imininingwane anginayo.
What I want to know is the reviewing or verification of a particular member after he has made his or her own findings. The verification, is it only done when the results are positive or there's a positive match?
Mina ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi ukubukezwa komsebenzi owenziwe omunye wala insenza nawo kwenziwa kuphela uma kuukuthi nithole ukuthi le nhlamvu lena kunesiqiniseko sokuthi idutshulwe yilesi sibhamu lesesihlolo noma cha.
The verification must be done irrespective of the nature of findings.
Kusho ukuthi kubukezwa kwenziwa nanoma umphumela unjani.
Thank you, sir. Colonel, do you know who verified the findings of Lieutenant Colonel Mangena on his findings on the 13th of November 2014?
Uyazi ukuthi bani waletha owaqinisekisa umsebenzi wenziwa uLieutenant Colonel Mangena ngomhla ka 13 enyangeni kaNovember 2014?
No, my lord, I do not know.
Cha angazi ukuthi bani.
But by law, it was supposed to be verified and reviewed.
Kodwa ngomthetho okufanele ukuthi ubukezwe futhi uqinisekiswe.
In accordance with our standard operating procedure, all work that involves microscopic examination must be verified.
Njengoba ke kuyinqubo yethu emsebenzini wonke umsebenzi owenziwe ngokuhlola ngemicroscope kufanele ubukezwe.
So I can safely confirm that you did not verify that those findings.
Kusho ukuthi ke ngingasho ke ukuthi awuzange wena ubukeze lo msebenzi.
I did not verify them, my lord.
Angizange ubukeze.
Let's move to the question of, you've been working with the firearm. You've been giving lectures, sharing knowledge on the field of ballistics.
Besenza ngesibhamu and futhi ke kunezela kwethula izifundo mayelana nokuhlolwa ukuqhuma kwesibhamu ballistic.
Correct?
That is correct.
Yebo njalo.
So I'm just asking this question. I've got two sets of versions from the state side about the instrument that was used in the alleged commission of the offense.
Sigina ngibona mpile bekwe umshushisi mayelana nesibhamu esasetshenziswa ekwenzeni ke leli cala.
Just to give a little bit of a background to you, we've got state witnesses who furnished with the affidavits, including the affidavit of the lead investigator, Brigadier Ginenda,
Sina ma-affidavit abhalwa ababesebenza ukusehla leli cala sifake lapho-ke ne-affidavit ka-Brigadier Ginini.
People that were in the house made statements. I'll mention them.
Khona abantu bekhona lapha endlini ababenza itatimende ngizokutshela ukuthi obani.
Kelly Kumalo,
uKelly Khumalo,
Zandi Kumalo,
uZandi Khumalo,
Thokozisi Twala,
uMthozisi Thwala,
Tumelo Madlala,
uTumelo Madlala,
and Longwe Twala,
noLongwe Thwala,
including Brigadier Kininda.
ngifaka lapho noBrigadier Gininda.
They made statements to the effect that the person, the intruder, was in possession of a 38 special revolver.
Bathi-ke ema-affidavit abo wayebangenele lapho ephethe ivolovolo elu-.38.
This is part of the evidence brought by the state to this court through affidavits.
Yilo bufakazi-ke abalethwa umshushisi kule nkantolo kuwubufakazi.
The other version of the state
Manje-ke omunye kumbono obekwe umshushisi uthi
relates to the exhibits that were alleged to have been found at the crime scene.
ukhuluma ngembuko eseyatholakala endaweni yesigameko,
whereby the state says a 9mm parabellum. Those exhibits were shot from a 9mm parabellum CZ75, if I'm not mistaken.
kuthiwa-ke lapho-ke le mbuko eseyalethwa la enkantolo yathutshulwa isibhamu esiyi-9mm parabellum osuhlobo lwe-CZ.
So you would agree with me that these are two sets of different firearms.
Uzovumelana nami-ke ukuthi-ke lezi bhamu ezimbili zehlukile.
It's correct, they are different.
Yebo kunjalo zehlukile.
It's common cause that the 38 special does not leave the cartridges, casings, after one has fired a shot.
Into yaziwayo-ke ukuthi 38 special ayishiyi magobolondo emva kokuthi idubule.
Correct?
Akunjalo?
That is correct.
Yebo kunjalo.
So the other one,
They must be manually extracted and
Ukuthi
ejected.
amagobolondo kufanele akhishwe ngesandla esibhamini.
so the other one can leave the cartridge casings on the floor.
Lesi sinye-ke isibhamu siyawashiya amagobolondo lapho.
That is correct.
Yebo kunjalo.
Let's look at the nature of the instrument itself, both instruments, the firearms. Could be the 38 special or a 9mm.
Asisibheke zombili-ke lezi bhamu, i-38 special ne-9mm.
Will you agree with me to say an illegal firearm and ammunition can easily exchange hands?
Uvumelana nami yini ukuthi isibhamu esingekho emthethweni singadluliselwa kwezinye izandla noma singanikezelwa komunye umuntu kalula?
As a court, please, I don't know what the purpose of this cross-examination is. The witness is now expected to speculate. We submit that that question should be disallowed.
Sir, will you be in a position to establish, or to tell the court that a firearm, especially an illegal firearm and ammunition, is capable of exchanging hands?
Uyakwazi ukuletha mhlambe ulwazi la enkantolo ukuthi isibhamu esingekho emthethweni siyakwazi ukudluliselwa komunye umuntu.
Let me give you an example. people are selling firearms, illegal firearms. I can sell a firearm to you today. That is possible, correct?
Kuliqiniso ukuthi abantu ke bayazidayisa ibhamu nami ngakudayisa isibhamu esingekho emthethweni akunjalo.
Yes, the question is too wide. It's just a generic question that has nothing to do with ballistics examination.
Hayi umbuzo omubanzi kakhulu ongahambelani ke nomsebenzi weballistic.
So this is a question that can be posed to anyone. So it's a too wide question.
Banzi kakhulu lo mbuzo.
Can you narrow it?
My role in this case is very limited. It is limited to the verification of marks that I have seen under the microscope.
Senzo Meyiwa kuleli cala bekuwukuthi nje ngiqinisekise izimpawu ezibonakala ngaphansi kwe-microscope.
So this is why I say I have a very limited scope in this matter. I did not attend the scene. I did not analyze the scene. I have no access, or I had no access to certain activities that happened during the investigation of this matter. My role was just to verify whether a particular bullet or particular bullets, that is the test and the exhibits, have a common origin. That's all that I did. The rest of the other things in this matter, I have no personal knowledge. That is why I indicated from the onset that whatever I will be commenting on with respect to either the investigation of the scene or the processing of the scene, that will be based on pure speculation, because I've got no personal experience with those matters. I've never been to the scene. I've never seen those, even whether we talk about the chain of custody from the scene, I did not seal those things, the exhibits from the scene. So the rest will be just speculation from my side. But what I can answer with certainty is in respect of the microscopic verification I have conducted in this matter.
Engingasho-ke ukuthi mina angizange ngikwazi ukuthi ngiye endaweni yesigameko, angizange ngibe nethuba lokuthi ngiyongena mhlambe ekuhlolweni nami ekuphenyeni kwaleli cala. Umsebenzi wami nje kuphela bekuwukuthi nje ngizosho ukuthi-ke umsebenzi wokuhlola izinhlamvu ukuthi kukhona yini izimpawu ezifanayo kule inhlamvu ethole endaweni yesigameko nenhlamvu ekuthestwe ngayo, kukhona yini izimpawu ezifanayo. Anginalwazi olunye olungaphandle kwalokho. Engingakwenza-ke nje mhlambe ukuthi-ke ngiqagele ngoba angizange ngifike endaweni yesigameko, futhi nokuthi zaphathwa kanjani-ke izinto ezatholakala lapha endaweni yesigameko angikwazi nokuphendula lapho ngoba angizange ngibe khona lapho. Engifuna ukuletha nje la enkantolo engingaphawula ngako ukuthi izimpawu ezikusenhlamvini eyatholakala endaweni yesigameko nakulezi ezisenhlamvini ekwahlolwa ngayo i-test bullet ziyafana noma zifani yini. Ikona lokho kuphela.
Now I appreciate your answers, but I wasn't specific about the question that I've asked you. My question is, let me just put it this way, maybe you'll understand it. In general terms, is the firearm capable of changing hands in general terms? Is that possible?
Cha, umbuzo-ke ukuthi izibhamu uyakwazi ukuthi isibhamu sinikezelwe komunye umuntu yini?
In general terms, yes, it's possible. Firearms can move from one person to another.
Yebo, uma sikhuluma-ke nje kabanzi, yebo isibhamu singasuka komunye umuntu siye komunye.
So I'll get into the scope within which you were called to testify on. But since you were working in that office, I just want to find out whether it has been possible, it has ever happened to you to collect exhibits from a police station without the case administration office, or without the being commanded or being instructed by your commander? Have you ever collected an exhibit from a police station?
Why in a police station Oyolanda mhlambe ke exhibit ethize ukuthi awuthunywanga umkhuzi wakho?
What I can say is that in the past it happened that we were also transporting exhibits from the lab to the stations.
Yebo kwakwenzeka ngaphambilini ukuthi sithwale ke ama exhibits sosisa elab sosisa ema police station,
especially when our storage safes were filled to capacity.
uma kuukuthi ke la isefo esebeka kuzona sigcwele kakhulu.
So in the present, because it was in the past, in the present, what is the position?
Manje ke nje ukukhuluma ukuthi kwakwenzeka ngaphambilini, manje ke kulesikhathi samanje kwenzeka kanjani?
Currently it did not happen, it has not happened.
Hayi kulezi insuku akwenzeki.
But my question is, particularly you, in a singular form, have you ever collected an exhibit from a police station for the purpose of examination?
Hayi sengibuza wena ke wena nkonzo wena uwedwa wabe wayelanda in exhibit e police station ungathunyiwe uthi uyohlolwa?
From my side, if I can recall, I collected certain objects for the purpose of examining tool marks, like pieces from doors.
Yebo kukhona izinto engayozilanda ukuze ngize ngizozihlola
so that they can be further processed at the lab.
ukuthi ke zizoqhubeka zihlolwe lapha laboratory.
But in this case, I'm concerned about ammunition and the tools, the firearms. Have you ever?
Ngikhuluma ngezinhlamvu namathuluzi ngisho ke izibhamu.
No, currently the circumstances has never dictated that I do that.
Cha akaze kube nesimo esimgoqelela ukuthi ngikwenze lokho.
But working from that office, for the purpose of conducting an examination, are you permitted by any law or any standing orders to collect a firearm or an exhibit from a police station?
Cha uyavunyelwa yini nje umsenza kulelo office ukuthi uhambe uyolanda i-exhibit noma isibhamu police station?
What I can say is that under normal circumstances we don't collect them, but they could be, I cannot rule out the circumstances that can come into play wherein the examiner may be forced or may be compelled by those circumstances to do it.
Ngesimo esijwayelekile ke asikwenzi lokho kodwa ke angisho ukuthi ke angeke kube nesimo lapho ke busy ngokuhlola ukuthize angaphoqeleleka ukuthi ayolanda exhibit at police station.
Can you give me of one circumstance that may compel a member to?
Angichazeleke esisodwa isimo mhlambe isibonelo sesimo singaphoqelela ukuthi busy ngokuhlola aphoqelele ukuthi ahamba ayolanda i-exhibit police station.
I cannot be able to give a list of those circumstances because there are certain circumstances that may come into play that never existed before.
Angeke ngakunika ke uhlu lwezimo ngoba ke khona izimo ziba into esiqala ukuyibona ezingakazi zenzeke ngaphambili.
There's evidence before this court by Lieutenant Colonel Mangena that he may instruct or request the investigating officer to collect a particular exhibit from the owner of a particular exhibit of firearm or from a particular company or business. But in the case where he collected a firearm at Cleveland, there was no need to inform or to request the investigating officer.
Can I just ask you to break it into
All right.
at least two?
Thank you, sir. I'll do so. There is evidence before this honorable court led by Lieutenant Colonel Mangena
Konfazi kokulethela inkantolo okuletho Lieutenant Colonel Mangena
to the effect that if he needs a firearm or
ukuthi
an
umedinga isibhamu
or a particular exhibit,
noma ke i-exhibit ethize.
if that exhibit is with the owner
Uma ke leyo exhibit iphethwe umnini
or a particular company,
noma enye inkampani
he may request the investigating officer to go and collect
angakwazi ukucela ke umseshi ukuthi akahambe ayoyilanda.
But in this case, he went to collect an exhibit at Cleveland without requesting the investigating officer to bring it to his office.
Kodwa ke kulokhu ke uhambile eCleveland oyolanda ke i-exhibit ukuthi azange acele umseshi ukuthi kube uyena oyoyilanda.
Can such a circumstance compel the member to go and fetch a firearm or an exhibit without requesting the...
Sikhona isimo esinjengalesi singaphoqa ukuthi ke omunye ke wamalungu obviously ahamba yolanda i-exhibit engadinyiwe.
I cannot answer this question simply because I do not have access to all the circumstances that happened during that time.
Angeke ngikwazi ukuphendula umbuzo ngoba anginalo ulwazi lwakho konke okwenzeka ngaleso sikhathi.
A decision cannot be divorced or detached from the circumstances that existed at a particular time.
Isinqumo ke angeke sakhishwa ekubhekeni zonke ukuthi isimo ngaleso sikhathi zonke izimo ezinye zazinjani.
So I do not know what happened during that time.
Angikwazi ukuthi ngisho ukuthi kwakwenzekeni ngalelo sikhathi.
As I've already said, that my involvement in this matter is only in respect of verification of findings.
Njengoba sengishilo ukuthi mina okwami kulokho kwakunje uletha isiqiniseko mayelana ke nokuhlolwa kwesibhamu.
So in this case, as I've just demonstrated in court, if Lieutenant Colonel Mangena, you told this court, even himself, that the test that a member after the examination may apply a subjective test in his finding. Am I right?
Colonel Mangena utheke amanye amalungu ngenzeka ukuthi emva ukuthi ehlolile ngeza namanye ukuthi azobona ukuthi wona abona kanjani. Anjalo.
Is it
The test is subjective.
is it in respect of microscopic examination?
Correct, yes.
Athi-ke yebo kunike sikhuluma nge-microscope, hlola nge-microscope.
As I've already stated before, the interpretation of the marks which are already on the surface of the bullet, that interpretation is subjective in nature.
Njengoba sengichazile-ke ukukhipha umbiko noma ukubhala umbiko mayelana nokuhlola yikona-ke kutheni umuntu ubona kanjani.
Because it is based on knowledge and skill of the examiner, which comes from training.
Ngoba kuphuma ekutheni umuntu uchwepheshe kangakanani lokuthi uqeqeshwe kangakanani.
But the marks or the features that are considered, which are on the specimen, they form part of objective facts.
Kodwa-ke okulapha iy'mpawu ezilapha kulezi zinto ezihlolwayo yenye yezinto lezi ezingancikile ekutheni umuntu ubona kanjani.
But are there any, if you may think of, other than the knowledge and the skill, are there any other external factors that may influence the examiner?
Ngaphandle-ke kolwazi nokuqeqesha zikho ezinye izinto ezingenza ukuthi mhlawumbe zibe nomthelela endleleni abona ngayo uhlolayo.
When I talk about ballistics identification, I must confine myself to knowledge and skill.
Masikhuluma nge-ballistic hayi ithi-ke ngikhulume nje ngolwazi nokuqeqesha.
Because it is the one which creates competency for the examiner to be able to make certain deductions and reach certain conclusions.
Ngoba yikona-ke okunomthelela ekutheni ugcina esebone kanjani umhloli.
Before I conclude my cross-examination, the act or the circumstance that we have discussed, whereby the examiner went to collect an exhibit from a police station, can that not necessitate a finding adverse to the outcome, to the positive outcome of the matching?
Ukuthi umhloli uhambe wayelanda isibhamu lapha ngeke kube nomthelela yini ekutheni umphumela ube mubi umphumela uyohlola.
For the same reason that I've already given, I cannot answer this question because I do not know everything that happened for that particular decision to be taken.
Ngalezi zathu-ke bese ngizibhekile angikwazi ukuphawula lapho ngoba angizazi zonke izimo ebezikhona ngaleso sikhathi.
So you cannot even tell the court whether the exhibits that were collected, especially the bullets, were they all the full metal jackets mixed with the same complete metal jackets, or were only the complete metal jackets?
Okwazi nokuchaza ukuthi inhlamvu ezasetshenziswa kuwama-full metal jackets noma kuwu-complete metal jackets.
That I'll be able to tell the court because it will not be speculation. It will be based on what I have personally seen.
Hayi lokho ngakuletha phambi kwenkantolo ngoba kuzobe kungakona ukuqagela kuzobe kuyilento engayibona.
Yes, can you please tell the court?
Wathi yebo-ke chazela inkantolo.
The ammunition that was collected by Lieutenant Colonel Mangena from Cleveland Police Station, were they full metal jackets or complete metal jackets?
Manje-ke lezi nhlamvu ezazolandwa uColonel Mangena eCleveland koba ama-full metal jacket noma kwama-complete metal jacket?
No, what I'm referring to when I say about...
No, I understood that. This is the follow-up question.
No, I want to clarify my
Yes.
answer
All right.
so that it is placed in the correct context.
Hayi ngichaze kahle ukuthi kuzwakale kahle.
When I refer to things that I have seen, I'm referring to the bullets that I compared under the microscope.
Mangithi-ke ikhona izinto engazibona ngisho iy'nhlamvu engazihlola ngaphansi kwe-microscope.
I'm not making any reference to ammunition that was collected by Mangena or any other person.
Ngikhuluma ilutho-ke ngokuthi iziphi iy'nhlamvu ezalandwa uKenneth Mangena noma-ke omunye umuntu.
Because I did not see that ammunition.
Ngoba-ke angizange ngizibone lezo y'nhlamvu.
And this court was told that if it's Colonel Rule Officer or an officer rule officer, I'm not sure about their rank. But when he conducted the test, he was using a full metal jacket.
So-ke warrant officer noma uKenneth Rule Officer wathi mehlola wayesebenzisa i-full metal jacket.
I hear that.
Ngiyakuzwa lokho.
The question from an expert or an analyst like you, if he was conducting a test on a full metal jacket, he cannot use the complete metal jacket.
Kusho ukuthi-ke uma esebenzise uhlobo lwe-full metal jacket angeke akwazi ukusebenzisa i-complete metal jacket.
Can he use the testing ammunition or bullets? Let me just be practical and say, if Rudolfse conducted test on a full metal jacket, can he further take complete metal jackets to do further tests?
Uma-ke uRudolph esebenzise ehlole inhlamvu eyi-full metal jacket angakwazi ukuthi aqhubeke ngokuhlola esesebenzisa ama-complete metal jacket.
That will depend on the scope of what he's doing.
Lokhu kuzoncika ekutheni indima enikwe ingakanani.
If he's doing a comparison with another exhibit on record, and the exhibit is of a different material, he will have to fire more tests with the material that is as close as possible to the material on the exhibit.
Manje uma ukuthi khona exhibit anayo eyakho ngentsimbi ethize, uma ukuthi-ke ufuna ukuthola-ke umphumela ongcono ufanele adubule ezama ukusebenzisa-ke inhlamvu yenziwe ngentsimbi esondelene kulolu hlobo lentsimbi eyakhe ngayo i-exhibit, inhlamvu eyi-exhibit.
Even our procedure is very clear that you must use the material which is as close as possible.
Inqubo yethu isho njalo ukuthi ufanele uzame ukusebenzisa-ke uhlobo lwenhlamvu olusondelene kakhulu mayelana nentsimbi-ke eyakhiwe ngayo nalena insimbi esekule bullet ezohlolwa.
As close as possible to the exhibit.
Kuthiwa ayisondele kakhulu ngohlobo lwayo kule nhlamvu-ke ye-exhibit.
That is why we have a minimum threshold. The minimum is two test fires.
Yikho-ke sinesilinganiso esincane esisetshenziswayo ukuthi kufanele ube udubule kabili ungadubuli kanye kuphela.
But we don't have the maximum.
Kodwa-ke asinaso isilinganiselo sangaphezulu la kuthiwa khona kunqunywa khona ukuthi ungaqhubeki weqele ngale kwazo.
In your case, you reviewed or you verified the work done by Lieutenant Colonel Mangena on bullet number 8 and bullet number 4, correct?
Wena-ke wenza wahlola umsebenzi wenziwa uLieutenant Colonel Mangena usebenzisa-ke inhlamvu number 8 na number 4.
The comparison that I did was between the exhibit bullet, which is marked with the lab number, and additionally A2. That was compared with the tests marked 369 TB4 and 369 TB8.
Mina umsebenzi engawenza-ke ngawenza ngale exhibit ngale mhlambe exhibit engayithola ethi kumethola inamba yayo yaselab igcina ngo-A2 ngiqhathanisa-ke nalezi zinhlambe ezama-test ezadutshulwa ezazine-nombolo eziwu-369 TB4 no-369 TB8.
So with regards to 369 TB8, you said it was a full metal jacket.
Uthe-ke le namhlamvu-ke u-369 TB8 yayi-full metal jacket.
That is correct, my lord.
Yebo kunjalo.
And the 369 TB4 was this CMJ, the complete metal jacket.
Before you know CMJ.
That is correct, my lord.
So the test bullets that was used by Colonel Mangena was TB5 and TB9.
Manje-ke inhlamvu yokutest izinhlamvu awathesta ngazo aqhathanisa ngazo u-Lieutenant Colonel Mangena kwakuwu-TB5 no-TB9.
I hear that.
Ngiyakuzwa.
Were they, which one was the full metal jacket between the two?
Yiphi-ke i-full metal jacket yiphi
Completely.
Is it in respect of Mangena's tests?
Yes.
usho-ke mayelana nokuhlola okwenziwa uMangena.
I do not know. I cannot say with certainty because those tests were fired by Mangena.
Hayi angeke ngikwazi ukutshela ukuthi kwakuyiziphi inhlobo ngoba owadubulayo lawo ama-test kwakuwu-Lieutenant Colonel Mangena.
So your verification was only limited to 2 sets of bullets.
Usho-ke wena-ke ukubukeza kwakubhekeneke nezinhlamvu ezimbili kuphela.
For verification purposes, I used TB4 and TB8.
Ukuthi ngilethe-ke ngibukeze ngasebenzisa u-TB4 no-TB8.
But the examination by Mangena was not only related to TB4 and TB8.
Mangena
There were further
asebenzisa
tests.
u-TB4 no-TB8.
There were further tests that were conducted by Mangena.
Waqhubeka wahlola-ke nakwezinye.
That
So
is correct.
your focus was mainly on 369 TB8 and TB4.
Usho ukuthi-ke wena waqonda ngqo kulezi nhlamvu ezimbili u-TB4 no-TB8.
What I can say is that when Mangena handed the tests and the exhibits to me, he gave me everything. That is from TB1, I think, up to TB10.
Mangena-ke engakuphawula ukuthi wanginika zonke iy'nhlamvu mese ukuthi ngiyozihlola. Wanginika ngicabanga ukuthi kwakusuka lapha ku-TB1 kuyofika ku-TB10.
And I had the opportunity to look through all of them from 1 up to 10.
Ngakwazi-ke ukuthi ngizibuke zonke kusuka kweyokuqala ngiyofika kweyeshumi.
My apologies, I think I might not be accurate with the total number of tests, my lord.
Hayi mhlambe-ke ngeke kunephutha lokuthi zazingaki lezi iy'nhlamvu.
But there were several tests which were no less than 8.
Kodwa-ke engikukhumbulayo ukuthi lezi iy'nhlamvu lezi zazingekho ngaphansi kwesishiyagalombili.
But my question is, when I ask you about TB5 and TB9, you could not give me an answer whether were they full metal jackets when they were tested or not.
Engibuza yona ukuthi ngathi wena uzangikwazi ukungitshela ukuthi u-TB5 no-TB9 kwakuyiziphi inhlobo noma kuwu-full metal jacket noma ungeyona yini.
It is because I did not record what each and every test, I mean the type of each and every test, because it is not required.
Angizange ngibhale phansi ukuthi kwakuyiziphi iy'nhlobo engangizibhale ngoba bona akudingeki.
But what I can say is that TB4 is CMJ and TB8 is FMJ.
engakusho u-TB4 u-CMJ u-TB8 u-FMJ.
So you did not have your diary to record whatever that you were verifying.
Kusho ukuthi awungenadayari yakho ukuthi ubhale phansi ukuthi wawenza.
There's a minimum amount of information that is prescribed to be populated in the worksheets that we use.
Khona ke ulwazi olufanele ulugcwalise lapha kulamashiti esiwasebenzisayo.
But
So
so proceed.
If there are no boundaries or parameters, you will end up recording each and every detail to an extent where your case file can go up to 1,000 pages.
Manje uma ingekho imingcele ukuthi yini oyibhala lapha ungabhala into eningi ugcineke ubhale umqulu wenkulungwane yamakhasi.
Yes. You concluded that there was a positive matching in relation to the test that you have verified.
Wena ugcina ngokuthi uthatha isinqumo sokuthi kukhona kufanana phakathi kwalama test la owahlola.
And your evidence is mainly about TB4 and TB8.
Kusho ukuthi ke uhlola kwakho kuzinzela lapha ku-TB4 no-TB8.
Although I went through all the other tests, I decided to select TB4 and TB8.
Noma ke ngizibuke zonke lezi nhlamvu ngiqoke ukuthatha u-TB4 no-TB8
as they will represent the rest of other tests,
nokuthi ke hayi lezo ngizomela wonke amanye ama-test
because they have a common origin.
ngoba zonke ke lezi nhlamvu
They were-
zilentweni eyodwa.
They were all test fired in a single firearm.
Ngoba zonke ke lezi nhlamvu zadutshulwa ngethuluzi elilodwa ukwisibhamu esisodwa.
So I'm entitled to select the representatives.
Manje nginemvume ukuthi ngikhethe la engibona ukuthi ngingasebenzisa.
And use them for identification purposes.
Ngisebenzise lezi nhlamvu ukuthi ngikwazi ukuthi ngikhombise ke ukuthi iziphi.
That was on the 23rd of July 2020, correct?
Give me the date again.
The 23rd of July 2020.
Ngomhla 23 July 2020.
That is correct, my lord.
Yebo unjani?
That was 6 years after the incident that happened on the 26th of October 2014.
Kwase sekudlule isithupha seminyaka emva kosuku lesigameko kwawumhla 27 ku-October 2014.
I hear
Correct.
that.
So these officers, I don't know their ranks, but I was told it's Feljun, Fesser and Tini.
Please repeat the question.
I'm saying I don't know their ranks, but the state mentioned that there is Feljun,
Angiwazi ke amarenka abo kodwa ke kuthiwe kukhona uFelion
Fesser
noFesel
and Tini.
noNtini.
Are you aware that they also conducted verifications?
Uyazi yini ukuthi nabo babukeze?
I'm not aware, my lord.
Angikwazi lokho.
The court has also ordered that they should be called.
Inkantolo ke isikhiphe isicelo sokuthi nabo ababizwe.
As Section 186 witnesses.
Njengoba ke ufakazi kwa section 186.
So in your answer, are you saying you are not aware if they also verified the work of Mankela?
Manje wena ufazi bakho ukuthi awazi ukuthi nabo babukeze umsebenzi kaMangela.
I'm not aware, as I did this verification independently by myself.
Hayi mina angikwazi lokho ngoba mina ngenza umsebenzi ngingedwa.
So I'm not aware if there's some other people who participated as well.
Hayi mina ngazi nokuthi mhlambe kukhona yini abanye abenza umsebenzi ofana nowangangwenza.
I think I've concluded my cross-examination.
Okay.
I've concluded my
Oh, I
cross-examination.
see. Okay, thanks. Yes, Mr.
Thank you, my lord. Dumela nkgono.
Dumela ntate.
My lord, there's members that we should take a short adjournment.
Okay, what's the time there?
11:23, my lord.
Yes, Mr. Ramseki.
Thank you, my lord. I'm indebted. Nkgono madume gape ga tla le letsogo.
Dumela ntate.
Now, you were called by, or you were requested by Colonel Mangena to do a peer review on this matter, correct?
Ucela uKenneth Mangena ukuthi uzobukeza umsebenzi.
That is correct.
Yebo unjani?
Now, before we go in depth regarding what you did, I want to give you background regarding his testimony pertaining.
Singakayike kuloko ozofakaza ngicela ukuthi ke ngizokutshela ukuthi kafuphi ufakaze wathi.
Now, I'm not going to dwell much because that evidence is off record, but because you were not here, I'll give that to you. He says that he received 2 test fires from the exhibit firearm. Those test fires, TB1 and TB2, were fired by Warrant Officer Rulofse.
Uthe wathothele inhlamvu ezimbili ezokuhlola ngazo lezo inhlamvu lezo zazithuthulwe warrant officer Rulofse.
Now, the first port of call, when he received a request to do a comparison examination on this matter, was to compare Exhibit F, which is the exhibit bullet in this case, with the 2 test fires of Rulofse.
Uthe aqale ukwenza ukuthi ke aqale ngokuhlola noma uqhathanisa i-exhibit F okuyinhlamvu yathola endaweni isigameko nelezi inhlamvu ezimbili uTB1 noTB2.
Yes, I hear.
And for
Yes.
for contextual purposes, TB1 and TB2 are FMJ type bullets or ammunition.
Manje lezi inhlamvu ezimbili uTB1 noTB2 ama uhlobo lwe-FMJ.
Understand?
Yes.
And according to the testimony of Colonel Mangena, when he compared the exhibit bullet, Exhibit F, with TB1 and TB2, the FMJs, he observed that the FMJs did not impart sufficient marks. Therefore, as you correctly testified, he had to go and test fire bullets that are closely resembling the material used in the exhibit bullet.
Uthi ke uthe mekhathanisa uTB1 noTB2 nalenhlamvu lena evela endaweni esigameko kwabona ukuthi nje lezi inhlamvu lezi eqinisweni akuzange zibe nezimpawu ezanele baphoqelela ukuthi aqhubele phambili ke eyodubula ezinye inhlamvu njengoba usushilo ke ukuthi ke ezinensimbi efanayo nalensimbi yakhe inhlamvu lena ephuma endaweni esigameko.
Yes, I understand.
Yes.
And in that regard, he then went to shoot further tests, further 8 tests.
Uthi ke kuloko ke waqhubekela phambili wadubula ezinye inhlamvu ezishagalolunye mbili.
Which are TB3 to TB10.
Lezi inhlamvu ke zagcina zibizwa ngokuthi TB3 kuyofika uTB10.
Yes, I understand.
Yes.
And from those 8 test fires, 2 were PNP make FMJs.
Manje kulezi inhlamvu ke azidubula ezimbili zazo zaziuhlobo lwePMP.
Yes, I understand.
Yes sir.
The 2 CMJ type fire bullets
Uthi ke ezimbili zazo zaziuhlobo lweCMJ
were of ANG manufacture.
zazakhiwa yile nkampani kuthiwa NG.
Understand?
Yes, sir.
The further 2 CMJs were of 6-hour manufacture.
And kuthiwa ke lezi ezimbili ke ama FMJ zenziwa 6 hour.
Yes, I understand.
And the last 2 were of a make that he never recorded, and at the time he testified, he could not recall those last 2.
Manje uthi ke lezi ezimbili ezingazidubula akasakazange abhale phansi ukuthi zazakhwe ubani, azange kwazi lesiqiniseko sokuthi zazakhwe yiphi inkampani.
Yes, I understand.
Yes.
And also for contextual purposes, he says that he fired all of those tests successively, randomly, without noting which one was an FMJ, which one was a CMJ, and amongst the CMJs without noting if this one is ANG, 6-hour, or the unknown make.
Thingazange ke aqaphela ukuthi ke njoba edubula kwakuyiziphi inhlamvu azidubula wavele wadubula nje engabheki nokuthi lezi inhlamvu azidubulayo zazakhwa yiziphi inkampani.
I understand.
Now let me posit there, Lieutenant Colonel Sireu. In your lab, regarding the processes and procedures, is there a particular worksheet that directs you what to complete as you do your examination, comparison, and the like?
Manje ke lapha ke nginqubo yenu enisenza ngayo lapha elaboratory khona yini worksheet enisenzisayo enikhombisayo ukuthi nifanele nenzeni nibhaleni?
There is a worksheet
Yebo khona
that we
worksheet.
complete.
Can you elaborate on that?
Ngakwazi
Lieutenant
usithezela
Colonel?
abenzana ngalo.
The worksheet, each and every examination type that we conduct, there will be worksheets associated with that type of examination.
Kuzo zonke inhlobo ke zokuhlola esinazo khona worksheet ehambelana nanoma yiluphi uhlobo esilwenzayo.
So the worksheets are designed for recording.
Manje ke lama worksheet enzelwe nje ukuthi ke kubiwe
What the examiner discovers during the examination process.
ukubikwayo ukuthi ke lo ohlolayo utholani emsebenzini wakhe ukuhlola.
Okay, now besides the worksheet, say for example, there's information further. You've done several tests and there's incomplete space to record your workings. Are you required to have a notation or recordal on any document further?
Manje uma usuphelele indawo lapho ungabhala khona njengoba lokuqhubeka uhlola uyavunyelwa yini ukuthi uthathe olunye uhlobo lwekhasi ubhale kulona?
Yeah, the worksheet is precisely meant for notes.
Manje le worksheet engikhuluma ngayo yakhelwe ukuthi ithathe amanothi.
Now, back to the subject matter of your peer review, you are then given, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you try to answer that under Mr. Mgomezulu's cross-examination, but Colonel Mangena says he gave you all the test fires for you to compare, correct?
Kana mangana uthe ukunike zonke inhlamvu ukuthi uziqhathanisa kunjalo?
That is correct.
Yebo kunjalo.
And you see the dilemma is this. That's why I'm asking you about the worksheet, because amongst those 10 test fires, 4 of them are FMJ. That will be the 2 FMJs by Colonel Mangena, the 2 FMJs by Warrant Officer Rulofse.
Ngibuza ngoba ke ngibona ukuthi khona inhlamvu ezine ezohlobo le-FMJ ngoba khona ezimbili inhlamvu ezu-FMJ ezivela ku-Colonel Mangena nezimbili ezivela ku-Warrant Officer Rulofse.
I understand.
Now, the point is this, and I've given you the context of Mangena to say the FMJs did not impart sufficient individual marks for me to make and identification. That
Ngoba
is
ke-
a positive match.
Ngoba ke uthi mangena lezi inhlamvu ezohlobo lwe-FMJ azizange zibe nezimpawu ezilingene ukuthi angakwazi ukuthi ahlonze ngokugcwele.
Yes, I hear that.
Ngiyakuzwa lokho.
Now, in that context, let us jump onto this aspect, because I'm going to be up and down, so bear with me. The AFT has got a theory of identification, and they also have got what they call the AFT range of conclusions. Are you aware of that?
I am,
Afike inendlela esebenza ngayo uyakwazi lokho?
I am aware.
Yebo ngiyazi.
And what are the range of conclusions that we can reach as ballistic experts after our examination?
Manje ke uyiziphi ke lezi nqomo umuntu angasifinyelela emva kokuthi ahlole?
It is an identification that we normally call positive.
Usho ukuthi ke ilo kuhlonza esithi kuveza umphumela omuhle.
It is an inconclusive result.
Usho ukuthi ke ile mphumela obonakala ukuthi awukwazi ukuthi kungathathwa isinqumo ngawo.
We have an elimination that we commonly refer to as negative.
Kukhoma ke lokho ukuthi ke okukhiphayo ke isibhamu esithize ukuthi akusona esebenzile.
And for argument's sake, and correct me again if I'm wrong, I'm not a ballistic expert, there may be a fourth one that is unsuitable for comparison, where the bullet projectile is so damaged that we cannot even put it under a microscope. Is that correct?
Khona umkhankasini la engathiwa khona kunenhlamvu engakwazi ukusebenziseka ngoba iba ilimele kakhulu ukuthi ingakwazi ukuqhathaniswa kunjalo.
That is correct. That one refers to when when the bullet cannot be used or the specimen cannot be used for comparison purposes because of damage.
Yebo khona lokho ngoba kusho ukuthi ke kuzobe kukhulunywa lapho ngenhlamvu elimele kakhulu ukuthi ngasetshenziswa ukuqhathanisa.
And as I was going through the literature on these aspects, it says also with inconclusive finding, there are 3 categories under inconclusive. Are you aware of those categories?
Kuthiwa ngalapha ngaphansi kwe lomphumela ongacacile kuthiwa kukhona izigaba ezintathu ezikwazi ukuthi zibonakale ngaphansi kwalowo.
I'm aware of those in the literature. Yes, that is correct.
Athi yebo embhalweni ngiyazi ukuthi kukhona lokho.
Can you also elaborate on the 3 categories of inconclusive in brief?
Ethi ke ungakwazi usichazela ukuthi ke imphumela engacacile enjani?
The first one is called positive inconclusive.
Oqala isayilo ukuthiwa umphumela obonakalayo ukuthi awucaci.
Is where in that case there is an agreement of class characteristics.
Nje lapho kuyabonakala ukuthi kukhona izimpawu ezithile ezibonakalayo.
And some measure of agreement of individual characteristics.
Sekuyabonakala ke nokuthi kukhona ukuvumelana mayelana nezimpawu ezikhona ezingajwayelekile.
But not sufficient enough to make a positive identification.
Kodwa ke kuthiwa nanoma kunjalo lezi zimpawu azilingene ukuthi zingakwazi ukuthi zisetshenziswe ukuhlonza.
There is a negative inconclusive.
Kukhona ke naloku kubizwa ukuthi negative inconclusive kusho ukuthi ke ukungacaci okungamukeleki.
In this case, all class characteristics agree.
Sure, ama-class characteristics akhona
with some measure of differences.
kusho ukuthi ke nanoma kunjalo kusho ukuthi lezi zimpawu kunokwehluka phakathi kwazo.
It's an inconclusive which is leaning slightly towards elimination.
Kusho ukuthi ke leyo ke incike kakhulu ngasekutheni ingakhishwa.
The first one that I explained is an inconclusive, which is slightly leaning towards an inclusion.
Lokuqala ke ila esibona khona ukuthi impawu zingathi zigobele ngasekutheni mhlambe zingayezisebenzisekayo.
There's an inconclusive result where all class characteristics agree.
What?
Agree.
Kushuthi khona lapha kwesithathu la kubona khona ukuthi wonke ama-class characteristics ayavumelana.
This type of inconclusive result is not leaning either to the left or right.
Kuthiwa ke lokhu ke akugobeli kwesokunxele noma kwesokudla.
In simple terms, it means I don't know.
Kuthi ke egcineni umhlaziyi uchaza ukuthi akazi.
Because you cannot determine whether or not a specific bullet or was fired by a specific firearm.
Uthi ngoba ke lapho ke akunazimpawu ezikutshelayo ukuthi inhlamvu ethize yadutshulwa isibhamu esithize.
Without any inclination towards the positive side or the negative side.
Uthi ke lapho ke akukho ke lutho olukusondeza ngasekutheni yebo noma ukusondeza ngasekutheni cha.
Now, given those range of conclusions, would I be correct that, especially let's focus on, because the other two, inclusive elimination, speak for themselves. Regarding the inconclusive finding, irrespective of the subcategory, that inconclusive finding is a standalone finding, correct?
Manje ke kusho ukuthi ke umphumela ongacaci umphumela ozimele anjalo.
Yes, in terms of our procedure, operational procedure, we have only one inconclusive.
Thina ke ngendlela inqubo yethu sinomphumela wodwa ongacaci.
And at the essence of that is to say with inconclusive.
Can you please repeat that?
The essence of inconclusive is this. You cannot say for example, in this case, I don't want to fetch examples that are far-fetched and I'm lost in translation. Pertaining to this case, if an examiner says exhibit F, and which is the firearm, and exhibit the exhibit bullet in this case, I cannot determine either way whether this bullet was fired from this firearm, then that will be an inconclusive finding. Would that be correct?
Umphumela ongacaci ukuthi umhlaziyi uthi i-exhibit F lapha sikhuluma ngesibhamu usho ukuthi akukho okucacayo ukuthi lesi sibhamu isona esadubula leya nhlamvu ethize.
That is correct, my lord.
Yebo kunjalo.
And let me take it further. With that inconclusive finding, I then produce a report that will be sent back to the IO of the case, the investigating officer, to say, this is my finding. It is inconclusive because I've looked at the bullet, compared it to the test, and yes, the class characteristics are discernible, they are there. And there is some agreement of individual characteristics, but they are not sufficient for me to make a finding that it is a match. Correct?
Kusho ukuthi emva kwalokho kubuyisela umbiko oya kumseshi ochaza ukuthi nanoma zikhona impawu ezibonakalayo azilingene ukuthi ingathatha isinqumo sokuthi nempela isona isibhamu esadubula le nhlamvu.
Yeah, all reports, whether positive, negative, inconclusive, must be sent to the investigating officer.
Yebo imbiko yonke umbiko ovumelayo umbiko ophisana nombiko ongacacile konke kufanele kubuyisele ku-IO.
Now, in the context of what I described to you with the work that Colonel Mangena did, when he said, when I compared Rulof's TB1 and TB2 with Exhibit F, I could not determine on the marks imparted on TB1 and TB2 sufficient marks for an identification. By procedure and what you've just explained now, he was supposed to make a report of that inconclusive finding, correct?
Akusho ukuthi uRule sehlolile wathola ukuthi ke azikho impawu ezilingene zokuthi angathatha isinqumo ngoba kungacaci kahle umphumela kufanele abhale umbiko ophindisela ku IO ochaza ukuthi umphumela ucacile anginjani.
Sorry?
To whom?
I say Mangena, my lord. I'm not saying the rule of say.
Mangena?
Yes.
Oh, I thought-
Mangena says I made a comparison between TB1
Okay, fine.
and TB2 with Exhibit F.
Yeah.
I didn't say rule of say
fine,
because
okay.
rule of say only did the
Yeah.
test fires.
Okay.
I think this is an oversimplification of the matter.
Yes.
It does not operate like that.
Indlela obeke ngayo ubeke kwabalula kakhulu kodwa akusebenzi ngaleyo ndlela.
Analysts are trained. That is why the training is specific and is specialized.
Baqeqeshiwe ke laba abahlaziyi yikho nje umsebenzi wokubaqeqesha ufanele ube uqonde entweni ethize.
They are trained to be able to discern or identify specific features
Yes.
on specimen under examination.
Bafanele bakwazi ukuthi bahlaziye babone impawu ezithize uma behlola.
And make certain conclusions or decisions based on what they see.
Bakwazi futhi nokuthatha izinqumo kuloko abakubhekile.
If an expert, I mean to say an analyst, examine a specimen,
Uma ke kukhona ohlaziyayo ebheka into ethize
and he realizes that on this specimen there is a problem of transferability.
manje uyabona ukuthi kule specimen asisiphethe kukhona ke ukungamdluliseki kwempawu
Or reproducibility.
noma ke ukuthi zingabuyiseleki izimpawu kaningi.
The analyst is entitled to fire additional tests.
Manje kumhlaziyi uyavunyelwa ukuthi angadubula ke ezinye inhlamvu.
As the features on the specimen he has observed under the microscope has revealed to him that this is a possible firearm.
Manje kuma ukuthi ke ugcine ebonile ukuthi ke kungenzeka ukuthi sona lesi sibhamu uma eloke ebhekile ngapha ehlola lama specimen awaphela.
He will be able to identify, for example, in this case, as it has been from the information that has been supplied to me now, that Mangena examined the full metal jacket tests, actually compared them with the exhibit bullet.
Njengoba sekushiwo ke ukuthi uma ngewathatha izinhlamvu zama-full metal jacket waziqhathanisa nenhlamvu i-exhibit bullet
which is of a CMJ type.
uhlobo lwe-CMJ.
He is entitled to fire additional tests
Uvunyelwa ukuthi angadubula amanye ama-test
which are as close as possible to the exhibit.
cishe mhlawumbe asondele kakhulu ekufananeni ne-exhibition bullet
In form and in composition.
ngendlela eyakhwe ngayo futhi ke nokuthi yakhwe nganhloboni yensimbi.
That is what a responsible examiner will do.
Kusho ukuthi ke yiloko okufanele kwenziwe umhloli owazi umsebenzi wakhe.
So he was within the parameters of the standing operating procedure.
Cha yena kusho ukuthi kwayesebenza ngale nqubo le ekusetshenziswa ngayo.
As I've already explained before, that it allows additional test fires to be made.
njengoba sengishiloyo-ke uvunyelwe ukuthi angadubula ezinye iy'nhlamvu.
It only sets the minimum, but it does not set the maximum.
Kusho ukuthi iyabekisa ukuthi kufanele kudutshulwe iy'nhlamvu ezingakanani ekuqaleni, kodwa ayisho ukuthi-ke uma usudubule lezo ngaphezulu-ke unqunyela ukuthi usungenza ungadubule ezingakanani.
For the known reason of transferability.
Ukuze-ke kwazi ukubonakala ukuthi ziyadluliseka yini iy'mpawu.
Now, at least I'm no longer shouting because my voice was way there with this aircon. Now that I can think clearly, Mangena says, sorry, Colonel Mangena says, I fired additional test fires 3 to 10, TB 3 to 10, because, yes, one of the reasons is that I'm looking for the CMJs because the exhibit bullet is CMJ.
Uthe kumangena wayephokelela ukuthi adubule ezinye inhlamvu number 3 ukuyofika ku10 ngoba wayefuna ukuthi athole impawu kulelo hlobo le-CMJ.
But the second reason is that the nature of the firearm itself, the barrel is worn out, so the impartation or reproducibility of marks is not consistent.
Manje uthi-ke futhi-ke okunye ukuthi-ke lesi sibhamu sasesigugile okudluliseka kwezimpawu kwakungacacile kahle.
I hear that.
Ngiyakuzwa lo.
And I'm not sure how your standards operate. You'll clear it because I'm going to throw these questions for clarification purposes regarding your peer review. When you are given a case to peer review, does he also tell you information like part of the reason is that the bullet, the barrel was worn out, for example, that's why I did not have sufficient marks, or he just gives you, it's a blind peer review, you are not told anything.
Manje uma unikeza umsebenzi ukuthi ubukezwe uyatshalwa yini ukuthi ngibe nenkinga yokubona ukuthi umbhobho wesibhamu ngathi usugugile noma unikwe nje ukuthi wena uzosibonela ngale ndlela ozohlaziya ngayo.
He didn't give me the details of the case.
Cha ngasanga nginike imininingwane ngaleli icala.
I'm not referring to the merits of the case. I'm referring specifically to a ballistic tool mark that he used. Did he tell you that the barrel was worn out through wear and tear?
Angisakhulumi-ke ngecala, ngikhuluma nje ngumbhobho wesibhamu ukuthi wakutshela yini ukuthi ogugile.
He never gave me such information.
Okay.
Cha lolu lwazi azange nginike lona.
Okay. And now we are at the stage, your testimony is that you compare the exhibit bullets with all the test fires, 1 to 10. Is that my understanding?
Ngizwisisa-ke ukuthi waqhathanisa nazo zonke iy'nhlamvu ezazikhona kunjani.
I examined all the test bullets that were given to me, including the exhibit.
Ngaqhathanisa zonke lezi zinhlamvu enganginikwe zona ngifaka lapho futhi-ke nenhlamvu ye-exhibit.
And for you, as you have gone through all the test fires, you make a determination that TB4 and TB8 gives me the best possible marks where I can make a comparison with exhibit bullet, correct?
Usubhekileke wabona ukuthi uTB4 noTB8 zikunika-ke iy'mpawu ey'cace kahle ukuthi ungayaqhathanisa kahle. Kanjani?
Yeah, it was just a quick run through all the tests.
Ya ngagijima nje ekubukeni zonke lezi zinhlamvu.
And eventually I decided to use TB4 and TB8 for thorough analysis.
Ngase ngikhetha-ke ukuthi ngizosebenzisa uTB4 noTB8 ukuze ngenze-ke ukuhlaziya okujulile.
Okay. When you say you made a quick run through all of them, then you preferred 4 and 8. what does that quick run entail? TB 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. What does that entail?
It was,
Ke kusho ukuthini-ke ukuthi wagijima phezulu nje ukubukeni kwakho lezi iy'nhlamvu kusho ukuthi wenzani?
it was just to familiarize myself with the general appearance of the marks
Ngangifuna nje ukubona nje ukuthi iy'mpawu zinjani kulezi iy'nhlamvu
and the system of rifling on the tests.
nokuthi-ke kwakusetshenziswa luphi uhlobo le-rifling kule test.
And at the time you were given this, did Colonel Mangena tell you that I have made an inclusion that is a positive match? Let's start there. Did he tell you that he made a positive match?
Bese wakutshela yini uKenan Mangena ukuthi yakhona ngabona ukuthi impela mangiqhathanisa khona umphelo omuhle ngiwutholile?
No, he did not tell me that.
Cha azange angitshele lokho.
Now you make your comparison focusing now on TB 4 and 8.
Manje umsebenzi wakho ukuqhathanisa wawuqonde ngoku TB4 no TB8.
A thorough comparison, yes.
Yebo ngisho ukuthi uqhathanisa okujulile ngakwenza la.
Now if I understood your evidence in chief yesterday, you started first by and correct me if I'm wrong, with the methodology or the methods that you used, that you described yesterday, which are pattern matching and consecutive matching trial, CMS, right?
That is correct.
Uthi wena izolo uthe indlela osebenzise pattern matching ne consecutive can you give me the name of the second?
Consecutive matching striations.
Le kuthiwa consecutive matching stri.
Right? And from the charts that you prepared, I'm not going to take you through all the charts. From the charts that you prepared, TB8, as I understand the charts, you use the line counting method, which is CMS, correct?
Kusho ukuthi lapha ku-TB8 wasebenzise indlela yokubala imigqa ekuthiwa CMS anginjalo.
Just to be very clear,
yes,
on the approach,
yeah,
or the methods,
yes,
that I followed. I followed the pattern matching method.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, indlela ke engayisebenzisa lapha ngisebenzisa i-pattern matching method.
With the pattern matching method, you are also able to identify both the striations and the impression marks.
Manje ke lapha ke ku-pattern matching method kusho ukuthi ke ila ukwazi ukubheka ukuthi kunemigqa yini and futhi kuneyigodi yini khona lapha.
As I've already indicated that the two methods are not they are not mutually exclusive, or they are not in opposition to each other.
Kulezi indlela zombili njengoba sengishilo azilwisani.
But the current situation is that we use pattern matching at Ballistic South Africa.
Kodwa ke njengoba Ballistic South Africa indlela esiyisebenzisa zayo kakhulu ile pattern matching method.
But it will not be incorrect if one uses CMS, because they both subscribe to the theory of identification.
Futhi ke kuzobe kungeyona iphuthu ukusebenzisa i-CMS ngoba nayo ke iyayisebenzisa ke indlela enhle yokuhlola.
And now and remember, on that aspect, I agree with you that you can start by using pattern matching, and if you see the patterns and they are reproducible, you can even go to line counting, which is CMS. So I'm not faulting you on that aspect, and don't take it like I'm faulting you.
Cha angisho ukuthi ke ngiyakuphikisa ukuthi ungakwazi ukusebenzisa pattern matching ukudlule le kulapha ku line counting ngaphansi kwe CMS.
And when we talk about pattern matching, remember, Lieutenant Colonel, I am asking you questions, but I'm learning from you as well. So some of the questions, take it, I'm a layperson when it comes to ballistics and comparisons and the like, right?
Njengoba ngibuza ke imbuzo hayi ngiyaqhubeka nami ngiyafunda khona iqosha njengoba ngingena ubuchwepheshe we ballistic.
Now, with regard to pattern matching, What we are essentially dealing with, and correct me if I'm wrong, we are dealing with the known non-match, correct? Or are we dealing with both non-matches and known non-matches?
Manje lapha ke sisebenza ngempawu ezaziwayo ezifanayo noma impawu ezaziwayo ezingafani.
The concept of known non-match or known match, actually known non-match, is embodied in the theory of identification. It's not something that can be associated with pattern match only or CMS. It comes from the theory of identification, where both people from CMS and pattern match subscribe to.
Manje uma sibheka lapha impawu ezaziwayo ukuthi azifani akusho ukuthi ke kukhona umehluko phakathi kwalaba abathanda ipattern machine ne-CMS. Zombili lezi zisebenzisa indlela ezinhle zokuqhathanisa.
Now, for the sake of my understanding, I've gone through some literature, I've consulted with our expert, Mr. Peterson. And this concept of known non-match still beats me. Can you thresh it out for me so that I understand and then maybe we can move on to other things?
Awungichazeleke nge-known non-match okusho ukuthi ke kungafanani okwaziyo okubonakalayo okwaziwayo.
Known non-match is when the examiner compares two tool marks.
Kusho ukuthi ke lapha umhlaziyo uqhathanisa ke izimpawu ezishiwa amathuluzi ezimbili.
That he knows that were produced by two different tools.
Yila azikhona ukuthi ke lezi mpawu lezi zashiwa amathuluzi amabili ahlukene.
Those tools can be firearms or anything.
Noma ngabe kuyisibhamu noma okunye.
And he deliberately compares them with each other.
Lapho ke kusho ukuthi ke uyaziqhathanisa zombili.
With the aim of seeking similarities which may exist between them.
Ukuzama ukuthola ukuthi ngabe kukhona yini ukufanana okungabe kukhona phakathi kwazo.
This is what known non-match is based on.
Yilokho ke i-known non-match ezize khona.
It is because even in marks produced by two different tools,
Ingoba kuyenzeka ukuthi ke uma kukhona impawu ezishiwe amathuluzi amabili ahlukene.
there might be a very small degree of correspondence
Kungabe kukhona ke kufanana okuncane okungaba khona
between those two marks,
phakathi kwalezo impawu.
but the degree of similarity will outweigh those differences.
Manje ke ukufanana ke kufanele kube sezingeni elikhulu kakhulu kunokwehlukana.
Actually, I want to say, in tool marks that were produced by the same firearm,
Ka engishoyo ukuthi ke impawu ezishiwe isibhamu esisodwa.
the degree of correspondence will outweigh the differences.
Kusho ukuthi ke ukufanana kuzoba ngaphezulu kakhulu kunokwehlukana.
And in tool marks that were produced, that are known to have been produced by two different tools,
Manje ke impawu ezishiwe amathuluzi amabili ehlukile.
that similarity that exists in them when they are compared with each other
Kusho ukuthi ke ukufanana ke okungatholakala lapho uma uqhathaniswa.
will be outweighed by far by the differences that exist.
Kusho ukuthi ke lokho kufanana kuzobe kukuncane kakhulu uma kuqhathaniswa nokwehlukana.
So the concept of no non-match, as it is coming directly from the FT theory of identification,
Manje ke lo mbono lona kuthiwa i-known non-match njobe ivela kwa-AFTE.
it says for sufficient agreement to be attained,
Kuthiwa ke ukuze kube nokuvumelana okulingene,
the similarities that exist
Ufanana ke okukhona lapha
must exceed the similarities that are found in the best known non-match.
kushuthi kufanele ibe miningi ngaphezulu kakhulu kunokufanana okutholana kala ku empawini ezivela ezibhamini ezihlukile lokuthiwa i-known non-match.
In simple terms, a known non-match is actually a false positive.
Kuthiwa ke uma sikhuluma nge-known non-match kuthiwa ke yinto ke ebonakala sengathi yiyo kodwa engelona iqiniso.
If I'm just putting it in simple terms, the marks appear to be similar to create an impression as if the two marks are having a common origin.
Kusho ukuthi lezi impawu lezi ziba nendawo la ezicishe kube sengathi ziyefana ukuze senze ukuthi umuntu ke ongabhekisisile acabanga ukuthi kukhona ukufanana okukhona.
Although it is not the case.
Nanoma ke kungenjalo.
When the whole exhibit is examined around its whole circumference,
Manje kuma sesifubheka indingilizi yonke ke ya lenhlamvu isihlolo,
that those agreements will actually show that they are in the minority.
manje kuzobonakala ukuthi izimpawu lezi ezinokuba sengathi ziyafanana zincane kakhulu.
So that is what best known non-match means.
Yiyona ke into ezama ukuchazwa yiloku okuthiwa i-known non-match.
In the AFT theory of identification, the word best known non-match is not used.
Lapha kwe-FT uma kuqhathaniswa lento ka-known non-match ayisetshenziswa.
But there are words which, or the phrase, which is an equivalent of that word.
Khona ke indlela kubekiswa ngayo amagama acishe kuba acishe afane nalowo.
If I were to read from the FT theory of identification,
Mangibheka lapha ku le theory ye-FT identification,
it says agreement is significant when the agreement in individual characteristics exceed the best agreement demonstrated between tool marks known to have been produced by different tools.
so ke ukuvumelana kwezimpawu kufanele kube ukuvumelana okweqe kakhulu kuloko okuvelayo uma kusetshenziswe amathuluzi ahlukile.
And is consistent with the agreement demonstrated by tools known to have been produced by the same tool.
Kufanele kube can you please read that sentence? Something?
And is consistent with the agreement demonstrated by tools known to have been produced by the same tool.
Kuyahambisana ke nempawu ezishiwe yithuluzi elifanayo.
So the word that says the agreement must exceed the best agreement demonstrated between tool marks known to have been produced by different tools.
Futhi ke impawu ezishiwa amathuluzi amathuluzi amabili okwaziwa ukuthi akulona ithuluzi elilodwa ahlukile.
That is where the best known non-match is coming from.
Yilapho evela khona lento ekuthiwa i-best known match.
And that second principle of AFT, where you've sampled a reading from, the word in the glossary of terms of AFT, would I be correct that AFT does not define what is meant by best agreement, correct?
Iqiniso yini ukuthi i-FT ayichazi ukuthi i-best agreement kusho ukuthi ke isivumelwano singcono kunazo zonke kusho ukuthi yini?
No, that is not the vocabulary used by FT. FT uses the word sufficient agreement.
Yes.
Cha i-FT yana ayisebenzisi lawo magama, isebenzisa lokho kuthiwa sufficient agreement kusho ukuthi isivumelwano esenele.
And it further explains what will constitute sufficient agreement.
Yaqhubeka ichaza ukuthi yini echazwayo ngo-sufficient agreement.
And it uses again the word significance.
ifuna ke futhi ukusebenzisa ligama elithi significance elichaza ukuthi into ephathekayo,
which means significant agreement.
usho ke ukuthi isivumelano esiphathekayo.
And it explains it explains how significant agreement is reached.
Ichaza ukuthi ufinyelela kanjani ke isivumelwano esiphathekayo.
And that is exactly my point. That is, AFTI gives this second principle of theory of identification, yet sufficient agreement, which they rely on as a standard that you reach to make a match, an agreement, is not defined. And they say in order for that, there must be a best agreement, the one that you've just quoted. And they also go and qualify with other words. But my point is this: the criticism that has been leveled with the second principle is they use the word that it's secular, it's circuitous. Circuitous meaning we are going round and round in circles. Have you read literature that says the same thing?
FTE ikhuluma nge-sufficient agreement okusho ke isivumelwane esilingene, kodwa ke iyehlulekile ukuthi ichaze ukuthi yini ke lesi sivumelwane esilingene. Ikhuluma ngesivumelwane esingcono kunaso sonke, kodwa ke ekuchazeni kwabo balokhu bejikajika entweni eyodwa uma belokhu bechaza indaba zami kuyiveza.
What I can say is that FT has never given any statistical method. Currently, we don't use any statistics to demonstrate to demonstrate sufficiency.
FT kusetshenziswa statistic kusho ukuthi kasikho statistic esetshenziswayo ukuthi kuchazwe ukuthi insufficiency kusho ukuthi ke ukulinganela kukhulunywa ngayo.
It only uses the word sufficient agreement.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Ukuthi isilingane isivumelwane esilingene.
And that compels the examiner,
yes,
when he's viewing the tool marks, yes, under the microscope.
Yes.
He must consider the total weight of correspondence or agreement.
Yes.
Against the disagreement that exists. But we have not yet arrived at a point where we can demonstrate that statistically.
Yes.
Like when it is done in DNA analysis, for example.
Now, I'm just going to read here because I said I want to thresh out this concept of best known match so that when I leave here, I understand it properly. Now, from where you've read that agreement is significant when it exceeds the best agreement demonstrated between tool marks known to have been produced by different tools, and the part that I'm interested in is the one that I'm reading now. Consistent with agreement demonstrated by tool marks known to have been produced by the same tool. You see that?
I see it.
Now that and it's taken with the third principle of theory of identification, which I may also read quickly because I want to combine my question between these two principles.
Okay, so you're leaving me behind.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Ngoba. Sorry, Mr. Ngoba. So just read from the part, he has already read it in rhoqo, which says, and is consistent with agreement demonstrated by tool marks known to have been produced by the same tool.
Kuthoke statement esikhuluma ngokuvumelana okulingene siba sichaza ukuthi ke kukhona lokho phakathi kwezimpawu ezimbili ukuchaza ukuthi kufanele kube nokuvumelana kwezimpawu ezitholakala entweni eyodwa uma kuwukuthi ke ubuningi ke balezi zimpawu lezi zingakwazi ukuthi ziholele ekutheni esinye isibhamu singabe sisetshenzisiwe ukuthi sishiye lezo zimpawu and futhi ke lokho ke kuyinto ekude kakhulu ukuthi ingamukeleka njengengasetshenziswa.
And I'm saying that I want to pose a question to you, but it's also related to this statement you've read and the third principle of theory of identification, which reads, currently the interpretation of individualization or identification is subjective in nature, founded on scientific principles and based on the examiner's training and experience. Right?
Lana ukubuka izimpawu lokubusa ncike kakhulu ekutheni umuntu uqeqeshwe kangakanani.
Now my question is this: when they say on this aspect, consistent with agreement demonstrated by tool marks known to have been produced by the same tool, what it says to an examiner, that's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong. What it says to an examiner, it says, when you are looking at this tool, the non-match, comparing non-matches, you as an examiner, according to your training and experience and the scientific principles that apply to ballistics, you then sit and you go through a catalog in your memory and say, I have seen, say for example in this case, these marks on this bullet before imparted in another test that I've done in my experience, imparted by a C75 Luca. So based on what I'm looking at now as my consistent with tool marks demonstrated by as a known match, known match. I've seen this before in other tests. Now looking at my experience and my training, this tells me this tool must have produced these marks. Is that not what it says in simple terms?
Cabanga ukuthi uma ukuthi wake wasibona isibhamu esithize sishiya izimpawu ezinjengalezo sibonayo uyakwazi ukusho ukuthi cha lezi zimpawu lezi zingabe sishiwe yilolu hlobo lesibhamu kusho ukuthi ke nalowo mqondo ke lo uyawuletha ehlaziyeni kwakho.
Known non-match, as I've already explained,
yes.
That specimen, I mean to say tool marks,
yes,
known to have been produced by different tools are microscopically compared with each other.
Kusho ukuthi ke impawu ezishiwe ezibhamu ekwaziwayo ukuthi zehlukene kodwa ke lezi impawu lezi ziyahlolwa ngaphansi kwe-microscope ziqhathaniswe.
So as the examiner has been doing that throughout his career,
Kusho ukuthi ke njengoba elokhu eqhubeka ke umhlaziyi emsebenzini wakhe wokuhlaziya,
he's able to have a picture of what of the extent of that agreement. The extent of the agreement on tool marks known to have been produced by different tools. That will happen from time to time and throughout his career. When he tried to establish the best known non-match.
Best known non-match kushuthi ke ukungafanani okwaziwayo.
So he will eventually know that even though there's some agreement, some element of agreement between tool marks known to have been produced by different tools,
Ushuthi njengoba ezoloke azi ukuthi kukhona impawu ezishoyo amathuluzi ahlukile.
the significance of correspondence, I mean to say the significance of the difference that exists,
Kusho ukuthi ke ukwehlukana ke kwehlukana kwa lezi impawu ezingafani
will allow him to make an elimination finding.
kusho ukuthi kuzomsiza ukuthi akwazi ukuchitha leli thuluzi njengoba ezobe ehlolile wathola umphumela.
So the best known match allows him only to know the extent of the agreement that can exist in tool marks known to have been produced by two different tools.
Kusho ukuthi lo kuzomsiza ukuthi azi ukuthi lezi bhame ezisetshenzisiwe zehlukile azifani.
Okay. Now, regarding your peer review, if I understand correctly from the explanation given by other ballistic analysts who have appeared here in court, the FMJ is a harder compound bullet and CMJ is a softer compound bullet, and therefore the impartation of marks on both will be different.
Ama ushiyaka kwempawu enhlamvini uhlobo le-FMJ kuzohluka kulezi impawu ezitholakala kulolu hlobo lwenhlamvu ewu-CMJ ngoba insimbi lezi aziqinanga ngokufana.
I agree the transfer of marks might not be the same.
Yebo ngiyavumelana ukuthi ukwedluliseka kwezimpawu angeke kufane.
Now, in the light of that, for me, my understanding of a peer review is that you're reviewing the work, the actual work that Colonel Mangena did. That is, you are only reviewing TB 5 and 9 to see whether you can find the same things or the same marks that he found, so that you can confirm that TB 5 and TB 9.
So ushuthi wena ubukeza uTB 5 no TB 9 nje ukuthi ubone ukuthi ke lokathi ukubonile ukutholile yini anginjalo.
But before you answer, let me qualify this. In your answer to Mr. Mgomezulu, you said that you had access to the 10 test fires, but your preference was for 4 and 8 because it's a representative, those are representative specimens because they are fired from the same firearm, correct?
When I work at ukusebenzisa u4 and 8 ngoba ke zidutshulwe isibhamu esifanayo anginjalo.
Yes, because all test fires are fired from the same firearm.
Yebo ngoba
I can use the
inhlamvu ezisetshenziswa ukutesta zidutshulwa ngesibhamu esisodwa.
I can use the representative samples.
Ngingasebenzisa ke amasampuli nje amele lezi ezinye inhlamvu.
My Lord, through the corner of my eye, when I was asking the question, I saw my Lord shaking his head. I'm not sure whether he was agreeing or disagreeing.
You're saying he's basically choosing 4 and 8 to the exclusion of the other fired bullets, when his evidence is that he tested all, under the microscope, all the fired bullets by Mangena. Is that not so, sir?
That is correct, my
That's
lord.
how I understand English.
No, that was not even my question.
And now you say he prefers.
No, that was not even
Okay,
my question. I say a peer review, and I'm going to repeat it without fear, favor, prejudice. A peer review, when somebody says, peer review this for me, he's actually referring to the actual work that he has done. In this instance, Mangena confirmed positive matches on 5 and 9. And my question to you, go on.
Uma kuthiwa peer review kusho ukuthi kubukeza umuntu naye onalolu lwazi olufana nayo nolwakho. Methi ufuna uyobukeza lo msebenzi lo owenze kusho ukuthi hambi yohlola ukuthi ngempela lokho akutholile kuyafanana yini.
So the basis of my question is this, and you may disagree, is that my understanding was that he will give you TB 5 and 9 for you to say, here, peer review this for me and see what you come up with without telling you I have made it positive, I've made it somehow, so that you are reviewing the same work that he did. And I'll tell you where the problem lies after this.
U5 and 9 athi mina ngihlolile lana u5 and 9 khona umphumela engutholile ngicela ukuthi uhlole kodwa yena ngeke akutshela ukuthi umphumela walokuhlola kwakhe yini.
We must first agree that all those tests were fired in a single firearm.
Yes.
Bayisizwana ukuthi wonke lawo ma-test bullet ayedishule isitampa mesod.
And as I've said, that the verifier of findings does not redo the work.
Njengoba sengishilo ke ozobukeza umsebenzi akaqaleli phansi wenza umsebenzi.
The verifier of findings can take any test or all of them or anyone.
Nje ke lo obukezayo angathatha nanoma yipi i-test noma athathe akhethe ukuthi uzothatha mangaki.
Because all of them were fired in a single firearm.
Ngoba ke wonke zonke lezi inhlamvu zasidutshule isibhamu esodwa.
It's not a case where we can say TB4 is coming from firearm A, TB8 is coming from firearm B.
Akusho ukuthi uTB4 mhlambe uvela esibhamini sokuqala noma uTB5 uvela esibhamini sesibili.
All those samples have a common origin.
Zonke ke lezi inhlamvu zivela esibhamini esodwa.
That is why I'm using the word representative.
Yikho ke ngikhuluma lo ukuthi ke emele.
TB4 represent the rest of them. All of them.
uTB4 umele zonke lezi inhlamvu.
And so with TB8.
Nakanjalo no TB8.
And so with TB5.
Nakanjalo no TB5.
And so with TB9.
Nakanjalo no TB9.
Because all of them were fired by the same firearm.
Ngoba zonke lezi inhlamvu zadutshulwa isibhamu esodwa.
And it is known because they were fired as tests.
Ngoba kuyaziwa futhi ukuthi zadutshulwa ngoba zasidutshulwa isibhamu esodwa makuhlolwa.
100% on the same page with you. Hundreds, I'm not faulting you anyhow. Now the dilemma, and maybe you may unravel it, we may find that it's not a dilemma. Colonel Mangena says TB8 is an FMJ.
Ukhona manje uthi TB8 u-FMJ.
And previously in his comparison, he had made that inconclusive.
Ngaphambilini uthe umehlola wabona sengathi akukho umphumelo ocacayo.
And now you come, you do your own independent peer review, then the very same FMJ that Mangena says he couldn't make it, and he made it inconclusive. You make it an inclusion.
Manje wena ke uthe umusufika kwathatha lezi zinye inhlamvu yena lazibone sengathi azicacile wazibona wena wasenza inhlamvu esifanele sifakwe ngaphakathi.
What I can say is that when bullets are fired from the firearm, the material of those bullets also play a role.
Engifuna ukusho ukuthi makukhona inhlamvu ezidutshulwayo kusho ukuthi ke lentsimbi esetshenziswe ukwakha leyo nhlamvu nakhona kunomthelela.
As some materials are harder than others.
Ngoba ekukhona ke izimbi eziqinile kunezinye
or softer than others.
noma ezithambile kunezinye.
It's not only about the material of the exhibit. There are also other variables that come into play.
Kukhona ke ezinye izinto nazo esingabukwa khona ukuqina kwenhlamvu kuphela.
We have, even if we have 2 9mm bullets
Noma singabe sana inhlamvu ezimbili ezamahlobo le-9mm
coming from different manufacturers,
ezivela ke kubakhi abehlukene.
the other one might be slightly oversized.
enye ke ngathola ukuthi inkulu kancane.
And that is a concept that is well known in ballistics.
Enye ke izinto ezaziwa kakhulu ku ballistic.
Both of them are 9mm, but the other one is oversized.
Zombili nanoma zu 9mm khona engathi inkulu kakhulu.
But in terms of micromillimeters.
Lapho ke ubukhulu lobu bukhuluma ngama micromillimeters kusho ukuthi kuhlolwa lapha kukalwa ngama micromillimeters kusho ukuthi isilinganiso singaphansi kakhulu ku millimeter.
You may find another bullet which is undersized.
Singathola ukuthi lapho khona nenhlamvu encanyana.
But it is also called 9mm because it falls within the specifications.
Nayo ke ingabizwa ngokuthi 9mm ngoba egcineni wela ngaphansi kwesilinganiso se 9mm.
As the specifications range from the minimum to the maximum.
Ngoba ke uma kuchazwa ke ukuthi izipho ezifakwayo ngaphakathi kukhona ezincane kuleso silinganiselo ebese kuba nezinkulu.
So when the bullet is between that, it's still a 9mm.
So ukuthi ke inhlamvu kumi phakathi kwaleso silinganiso ithathwa ngokuthi 9mm.
The other variable could be the wear and tear on the barrel interior.
Okunye ke ukuthi ukuguga ke kwangaphakathi kwembhobho yesibhamu.
Or sometimes just the nature of the design of rifling.
Mhlambe ke asithi ke nje indlela ke kwenziwe ngayo le msele ngaphakathi kwesibhamu.
So those variables will affect or will have an influence on the transfer of marks from the interior of the barrel to the bullet itself.
Lokho kuzoba nomthelela ekutheni ke impawu sidluliseka kanjani kusuka esibhamini ukuya kulezi inhlamvu ezidutshulwa leso sibhamu.
That is why the examiner is allowed to fire several tests.
Yikho ke umhlaziyi evunyelwa ukuthi angadubula inhlamvu eziningana.
If bullet 1 did not pick did not get a sufficient transfer of marks,
Uma inhlamvu yokuqala ingakutholanga impawu ezidluliselwe kuyona,
and bullet number 10 received sufficient transfer,
manje uma usubheka ke inhlamvu number 10 wathola ukuthi yona inempawu ezilingene,
we cannot write a report, 2 reports,
angeke sikwazi ukubhala imibiko emibili
and say bullet number 1 is inconclusive with the firearm.
angeke sithi inhlamvu yokuqala ke usho ukuthi ke ayicaci,
And in another report say bullet number 10 is positive with the firearm.
bese ke sithi ke inhlamvu leyo number 10 yona iyacaca.
Whilst we know that bullet number 1 and bullet number 10 have a common origin.
Ukuthi siyazi ukuthi inhlamvu yokuqala number 10 ziphuma entweni eyodwa.
So that is the essence of firing several shots.
Yikona ke ukwenza ukuthi kudutshulwe izinhlamvu eziningana.
Some features which are visible on groove number 1 of test number 1
Kusho ukuthi ke khona ke impawu ezikwazi ukuthi zibonakale emseleni wokuqala kuyi-test yokuqala,
will not be visible on groove number 1 of test number 10.
ngenzeka ukuthi zingabonakali emseleni wokuqala kodwa ku-test yeshumi.
Test number 10 might have certain features on groove number 3, for example.
Manje le nhlamvu yeshumi ngathola ukuthi ke emseleni wesithathu ngaba nempawu ezithize
that were not transferred sufficiently to groove number 3 of test number 1.
Singadlulisekanga ngendlela enhle emseleni wesithathu enhlamvini yokuqala.
So the examiner is allowed to take the sample which is having the best transfer.
Manje umhloli ke uyavumela ukuthi angayofuna ke inhlamvu angayisebenzisa ebonakala ukuthi impawu zidluliseke ngendlela enhle.
Or alternatively the sample that is able to see sufficiency on it.
Nokuthi ke mhlambe sithi ile nhlamvu yena athe uma ibheka ubona ukuthi cha inempawu ezibonakala kahle kuyena ezicacile.
Colonel, that was a mouthful. We'll continue after the long adjournment. My Lord, is after 1. May we take the long adjournment?
Yeah, all the time there, Mr. Malloy. After 1.
13:05, my lord.
So we can take it 2.
Yes.
Okay, 2 o'clock, we're back.